This episode of Distraction is sponsored by my good friends at Omega Bright Wellness. I take Omega Bright's omega-3 and CBD supplements every day, and so does my wife. Shop online at omegabrightwellness.com. This episode is also sponsored by Landmark College. Landmark's summer programs are designed to help high school and college students find their learning strengths and differences. Learn more at landmark.edu/summer. Hello and welcome to Distraction. I'm your host, Dr. Ned Hallowell. One of the themes of the world of ADHD is the underdiagnosis of women, girls, adolescents, adults. In fact, the largest undiagnosed group are indeed adult women. And to that end, we've done some shows about women who have it and girls and what to look for. But another one of our themes is the power of connection and the power of people's stories and how people grow into themselves. And if you've listened to the show recently, you might have heard a conversation I had with Katie LaBombard, a student at Landmark College, one of our sponsors and the best college for kids who learn differently. I spoke with her as part of Landmark's sponsorship of this podcast, but I invited her back today for a longer conversation because I have a hunch she'd be a great role model for some of our younger female listeners. Now, that's sort of a heavy burden to put on Katie, and I didn't mean to say you have to sort of step out and pretend you're perfect at all. But if you can just be spontaneous and just relax and be yourself.
Sure,
yeah. And just tell me the story of your life in 25 words or less.
Sure, yeah. Thank you again for having me on.
Sure.
Geez, I'm definitely more nervous than I have been for the last couple episodes. I'm great when it comes to talking about my LD and Landmark, but
let me give you some structure then.
Great.
As
sure.
If you were a patient that I was getting to interview for the first time.
Okay.
So where were you born and when?
Oh, sure. So I was actually born in Russia, and I was born in 1998, so I'm like 22 now. And I was adopted by my wonderful mother and father when I was about 1 year old with my sister.
Wow. So you and your sister were born to the same parents in Russia?
No, we aren't biologically related.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Is she also from Russia?
She is, yeah.
Okay,
but she doesn't have an LD. She's neurotypical.
Okay. But so your mom and dad, did they adopt you in the same year?
Yes, yep, they adopted both of us at the same time from the same orphanage. Yep.
So they got two for the price of one.
They did. I think they
Wow.
wanted us to be friends, and it worked out great.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And were you their first children?
Yes, yeah. They had tried for a while to have children, actually, and they wanted to adopt either way, but they couldn't have children, and so yeah, they ended up adopting, and they had wanted to be parents like their whole lives. It was like their dream.
So you and what's your sister's name?
Emily.
So are you and Emily the same age?
Yep, and I'm a month older, which I loved when I was a kid. I'd always hold that over her.
So then they picked you up in Russia and brought you home?
Yes, they did.
And where was home?
So home is in Massachusetts, Townsend, which is a small little antique-y town.
Mm-hmm.
I've basically lived there ever since.
Wow. And so you started going to school in Townsend?
Yes, yeah.
And how was school for you? How were your first grade, second grade years?
Well, of course, school was always tough, and having a neurotypical sister kind of did help me frame where I was almost supposed to be. And so I was comparing myself to her. You know, it's hard not to. But I could tell that I was struggling more so than other students. And, you know, even coming back from Russia delayed us when it comes to like language and I think a couple other things. So right from the get-go, I struggled. I needed extra help. We were put into a couple different programs as toddlers, and then after that, of course, starting school. Yeah, no, it was a struggle for me always. And for a while, I was in all like the same classes as everybody. And I think in first grade is when they started putting me in the quote unquote special needs
Mm-hmm,
classrooms.
mm-hmm,
And from then on, it was a struggle.
mm-hmm. And
Yeah, I can.
did you feel bad about yourself?
Oh, absolutely. At first,
Mm-hmm,
I think I told myself, oh, I like being weird. I like being quirky. I like having this thing that's different about me.
mm-hmm,
Maybe to protect myself from people saying, hey, you're weird, you're different.
mm-hmm,
But the farther I went, I think the more I resented it and I resented myself
mm-hmm,
because, everyone else, they look at you differently. They think, why is she going to a different classroom?
mm-hmm.
She has special needs, that kind of thing. And you don't want that. You get embarrassed by it. And then you start internalizing all that hate.
Did you start using negative words like retarded or a sped kid or that kind
Oh,
of stuff?
sped kid, yes. Oh, thank you. You
Okay.
just reminded me. Oh, it all came flooded back. Yes, yes. I was definitely the sped kid.
Uh-huh.
Um, but no, luckily, I mean, other kids use the R word, but I would never.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's when I was a kid, that's all there was.
Yeah,
And it was and treatment was just try harder or
right,
get spanked or something like that to make you try harder.
right.
It was a whole different world. So, when did your ADHD get diagnosed?
Oh, I was lucky to be diagnosed really young. I think at 7.
Oh
And
boy, good.
yeah, I was so lucky. My
Yeah.
mom went to school to be, I think, what special education major. I don't know what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was really lucky to have all that extra help and have her as my advocate for a long time throughout all of school, really.
And did you get on medication at age 7?
Yeah, and I went through the classic story of needing to try out a couple different ones. Some would kind of turn me into a zombie. But I got lucky again to find the right kind relatively soon.
And so school became less of a struggle after that?
Oh no, definitely not. I mean, sure, I could focus and I got good grades, but school is more than grades. School is learning it's social skills and learning how to be a person and making friends and building yourself up in all that, those kind of ways. And when you're shoved in the special needs classrooms with people you don't get along with, people you have nothing in common with, and you're all just struggling together, you're not learning any of those social skills. So that doesn't help any of the developmental delayment that I had. If anything, it probably made it worse.
Tell me more about that. So you went through grade school and high school in Townsend?
Yes, yep.
Yeah.
Again, all in the special needs classrooms, or classes. So, like, instead of taking English, I took it in a different room with like 4 other people, that for every single class, other than like gym. Um, yeah, sorry, what was the question?
No, just to say more about it. Did you make friends?
I mean, I got lucky. I joined an anime club after school, and I made friends through that. But that's exhausting. You're going through school for the whole day. You're completely drained by the end of it, and then to make friends, you have to like push yourself even harder. It's not ideal. It sucks.
Yeah.
And I was lucky to make those friends. I know, a lot of people don't. A lot of people just go home to decompress, and they never get that opportunity, which is sad.
Did you resent Emily for things came easier to her?
Oh no, I never resented her, but I was always so jealous. Definitely, I always, strived. Yeah, definitely jealousy is more of a word. And for other people to see how good she's doing and then look at me, same age, same everything else, it's like, why isn't she doing as good? And that's hard, you know?
Did you what were your dreams for yourself in high school? What were you hoping someday you could do?
Oh, I didn't think I'd get that far. I didn't think I'd die or anything, but I just, I don't know. I didn't, I thought, I don't know, maybe I'd like, I really had no clue. My mom would always say to me, I wish I had a magic glass that I could look into and see the future and see where you are and if you're happy. I'd give anything to have that. Um, and yeah, I'd always wish for the same thing because I never saw a future for myself. I know a
Katie,
lot of
that's
people are the
so
same way.
yeah. So you never saw a future beyond high school? Did you think you'd graduate from high school?
I didn't know. I didn't think I'd even get my license, honestly. I thought that was completely out of range for me. I had zero self-esteem. And I remember when I got into Landmark, they give you your diagnostic report, and I got to read what the testers like said about me, and they noted how I didn't think I could do anything and how low my esteem was, and I was shocked to read that. But
Well,
then I
you
realized
had
that
to
was
have
true.
graduated high school to get into Landmark, right?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and that was all thanks to my mom advocating for me and pushing me to be my best. And she's the one that found Landmark, and she said, this is the place for you. And that's why last time I mentioned this was my first and last resort. You know, I didn't see myself going anywhere but here. And if it wasn't for this place, I don't think I'd go to college, because back then I didn't have that confidence. I think it was Landmark that gave me it.
Hi, this is Sarah Guertin, producer here at Distraction. Last summer, Dr. Hallowell spoke with a mom named Marla, who had tried dozens of therapies for her 17-year-old autistic son and didn't see much improvement until she had him try the omega-3 and CBD supplements from Omega Bright Wellness. Here's part of their conversation.
So now you've got the team, and you're using nutrition, the dog, your daughter, connection, Vitamin Connect. Is that when you found out about supplements?
Yes, I had the wonderful opportunity to meet Dr. Carol Locke when I was at my church doing a woman's night. And so she asked me to have my son start taking the full broad spectrum, which is a CBD, and to put him on Omega Brights, like it's kind of like a fish oil, right? And so we put my son on it. And let me tell you, as God is my witness, it is a day and night transformation. We had a child who was not looking to pass any of his classes this year. He just finished and closed the school year off last Friday. And for the first time, the joy in that child, like he was expressing himself. He has taken up writing.
Wow.
He went from having all like F's in 4 of his 6 classes to finishing the year with 2 A's, 2 B's, and 2 C's. And that's with emergency distance learning as well. So that's a big transition for anybody who's on the spectrum. But he took it in great strides. And it's night and day. And it's amazing because I've had people saying, oh, well, what medication did you put him on? Or what did you do? The teachers are asking. And I said, I did nothing but have him take Omega Bright. And I had him take a full broad spectrum of just 1 pill in the morning and then 1 in the evening of the CBD, the full broad spectrum. And that has changed my son's life.
That's
He's
just
in the community.
so wonderful.
Yeah, isn't that
Now,
beautiful?
To learn more about Omega Brights, Omega-3, and CBD supplements, go to omegabrightwellness.com. You'll save 20% on your first order with the promo code DISTRACTION. And this week, in our Q&A episode, sponsored by the Foreman School in Litchfield, Connecticut, Ned responds to a listener who asks about how to identify inattentive ADHD in girls. Ned shares some of the things to look for and also talks about how he didn't see ADHD in his own daughter until one of her teachers suggested she might have it. You can hear that story in this week's Q&A episode we released on Monday. All right, now let's get back to the show.
So you showed up at Landmark with no self-esteem, basically propped up by your mother, and hoping that Landmark would somehow do something for you?
So unfortunately, that was my biggest push, my biggest wake-up call. When I got to when I got to college, when I just graduated high school, my mom passed away, unfortunately.
Oh
I
my
know.
gosh.
Yeah, it sucks. She died. My biggest advocate, I had to learn how to start doing things for myself and start advocating for myself. And
How did she die?
Oh, it was cancer. Yeah, ovarian cancer.
How long was she sick?
Oh my God, she was sick for a long time. I think most of high school, really.
So it was not a surprise. when she died?
Yeah, no, I guess not. Yeah, it did happen quickly though. All things yeah.
But here was your guardian angel, your champion, the one
Oh
who
yeah.
believed in you.
And that's what pushed me. I thought, she's watching me. Two, she built all of this up for me. I can't let her down. I need to make her proud. Yeah.
Was your dad encouraging?
Oh my God, yeah. He took the reins. I'm forever and always impressed by his strength. He was able to take up everything that she did, which is a lot, and then some. Yeah, he helped out a lot and became a bit of an advocate for me as well.
What kind of work does he do?
So he is like this manager at this like tech company, and that keeps him busy most of the time. He slaved away for them.
What did your mom do?
So she was like a stay-at-home mom, but she did mostly like volunteer work and like she did a lot as well. And she did try to look for jobs, but with special education especially, there wasn't much for her in our area.
And were you and Emily the only two kids?
Yes. Yep.
So you get to Landmark and your bastion, your mom passes away.
Right.
And you're by yourself at a college. How did you put one foot in front of the other?
Well, being in a new environment helps so much. It almost feels like starting new with a new slate. Plus with so many people helping you, you can start building up new habits and all of that stuff. But like I said before, school is a lot more than just grades. It is learning how to be a person and building yourself up personality wise. And that was a struggle, of course, learning or meeting new people. And like we said in the beginning, girls are not diagnosed as much as they should be, not nearly as much as boys. And so here at Landmark, we do have that issue. I think our ratio is 1-4, female to male. And it's been that way ever since I got here. So it was a struggle to make friends at first, with people being confused what your intentions are. Oh, you want to be friends, you want to be more than that. That sucks because there's so many boys around. But eventually, and that's just a me problem, I think. I don't know. But yeah, I finally did find my group. And even if it weren't for that, I think it's hard for people to find their group in college. It's not as easy as it looks on TV.
When you say find your group, what do you mean? A group of friends?
Yeah. All of the above. Yeah, I think people come to college with the expectation that they're going to immediately click with people and immediately find who they want to hang out with, and that's just not true.
Right.
I see it all the time. And I'm an RA here too, so I see a lot of different issues, and that one I think is a big one.
And when did your confidence start to build?
So I think I didn't know I had low confidence until I read in my report that I did. But think hindsight, I believe, it must have been once I got to college and had that feeling of a clean slate, I think. And again, I talked last time about, regression. When you go home, you start falling back into the person you were. That's an issue I do see with a lot of other people as well. I talk to people who are nothing like me, different age, completely different race, gender, and they have the same exact experience.
What are your hopes and dreams now? You're going to graduate Landmark in a couple of months, right?
Yes, I am, which is so scary. It's extremely scary, honestly. Now I dream of owning my own business. I dream of having my own house and, building kind of my own little empire. I have a lot of plans now.
What kind of business do you have?
So I have a little business already. It's called Smuggle Buddies. They're cute little plush animals with hidden compartments inside of them to hide like jewelry, money, pills, stuff like that.
So that's great. And you just came up with that idea on your own?
Yeah. I don't know. It seemed like a cute little niche, quirky thing.
See, that's the gift of ADHD.
Exactly.
We are born entrepreneurs.
Right. Yeah. And that's exactly what got me into this whole business thing. At first, I was super hesitant because, math and accounting, you can't do that. But everything else about it is so ADHD and LD friendly. I love it.
You can team up with somebody who's good at the other stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Did you find anything like a boyfriend?
A couple, That's also been a journey in and of itself.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people with ADHD tend to fall for train wrecks. Have you had that experience?
Wow. Oh, wow. That just got so many different trains of thoughts going in my head. I mean,
The appeal is we ADHDers, we're always looking for stimulation.
yeah.
Because that focuses us, and boredom is our kryptonite. We can't do with boredom.
No.
So bad boys are stimulating. They're exciting.
Wow.
They help us focus, and we're born rescuers. So we think we can see into him and save him from all his terrible habits. So
Wow.
so you put those two together, the stimulation, and it appeals to our rescue side.
Yeah, you just blew my mind.
Well, it happens a lot, and that people with ADD fall for train wrecks, and not all men who aren't train wrecks are boring, I guess would be my bit of advice to you.
No, you're 100% onto something there. No, but none of that has really fallen into my journey yet.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. So now you're armed with this little bit of insight, so you can
Thank you.
Be careful moving forward.
Right.
Many of you have heard me talk about my love for Landmark College in beautiful Putney, Vermont. Not only because they gave me an honorary degree do I love Landmark College, I love them even before they did that, because they're the best when it comes to helping college-age students who have learning differences master their weaknesses and develop their strengths. They understand that having conditions like ADHD or dyslexia is a marker of talent, and they take it upon themselves to find the talent while also helping kids shore up on the things that are getting in their way. Landmark summer programs are particularly helpful if you don't want to go for the full college 4-year experience. They're for high school students, graduating high school seniors, and for students enrolled in colleges elsewhere. There's also an online option for high school juniors and seniors, and students will learn specific strategies to help them learn in an academic environment. You can register for Landmark summer programs today. Go to landmark.edu/summer or click the link in our show notes. So you're just a natural entrepreneur, you're a natural creator, you're a natural, buoyant, resilient woman.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, it's so clear, but boy, you had it tough with this disability, didn't you?
Yeah. I hate to say it, but society. And I know that a lot of people like to point at that for all of our problems, but come on, when everyone has such a dark view of these diagnoses, you can't help but get that view yourself. It's terrible. It follows you forever.
Well, I've been trying to dismantle stigma for my whole entire career,
and that's the biggest job, and you were doing amazing, and I love it.
Well,
it's such a tough job.
But we're getting there, Katie.
Yes.
We're getting there, and it's people like you who will, show the way with your smuggle bunny invention, and it's
Thank you. Well, I mean, I think we've talked about this before. There is a movement happening right now. And, maybe it's just me projecting that because that's what I see around me. But I mean, online, I see it too. I see people's views changing to see what we see, that reframing process.
Absolutely. There's some chat rooms on Clubhouse now where you can hear about that, and the TikTok.
Yes, I love it. I love it so much.
Did you see the clips I made for TikTok?
Yes, yeah, I follow you.
Oh, good. Oh, thank you.
Of course, I love it. So I show them to my friends and family. Oh, yeah.
Well, what advice would you have to other people in general, and young women in particular, who have the trait so misleadingly called ADHD? What advice would you give them? So
much. When it comes to being female, if if you're self-diagnosing, that's okay. I know there's a lot of stigma against self-diagnosing. I'm not a fan of people who do that either, but it's important to be able to learn more about you, more about what you need, and self-diagnosing might lead you to learn those things. You might find you don't have it. You might find that you have something else. I see a lot of people thinking, oh wow, I have a lot of ADHD traits, and then they look into it and they figure out, oh, I actually might be autistic. And that's so helpful to know for just so many reasons, because once you start taking care of yourself and doing self-care that would help that kind of diagnosis, like, removing yourself from overstimulating situations, or giving yourself more time to do something, stuff like that helps so much and makes you feel like a real person instead of a failure, I guess. Also, rely on your family. For everyone, family is one of the most important, influential things, and there's an expectation on them to understand you and know what you're going through. But unfortunately, it's impossible for a neurotypical to know what a neurodivergent is going through. So it's hard and disappointing, but communication and sticking with your family for support and helping them understand you is huge.
Now, I just want to make sure not every listener necessarily knows what neurotypical and neurodivergent mean. So do you want me to define them, or do you want to define them?
Oh yeah, go for it, please. I'm sure you could do it much better than I could.
No, I don't. I doubt that. Neurotypical just means what is subsumed under the word normal, which is a very, very misleading word. But neurotypical means, you don't have any particular cognitive, emotional quirks, idiosyncrasies. It's really not typical, because it's pretty unusual. But the neurotypicals are the people who skate through without any apparent problem or difficulty. And then neurodivergent people like me and you, Katie, we're the ones with the alphabet soup, ADHD or dyslexia, right, or dyscalculia. And then you get into the other conditions of autism, what used to be called Asperger's, or depression, or bipolar disorder, or anxiety disorders, or substance use disorders. All of those are under the heading of neurodivergent. And the what most people don't understand, and why it's so important that we dismantle stigma, the biggest obstacle to people like us getting the help that we can really benefit from is shame and ignorance. We don't want to have people look at us as if we're crazy, which is why neurodivergent is such a superior word to crazy. But to the general public, it's still effed up, weird, crazy. Those are the terms the general public uses, and they're hurtful, and they're demeaning, and most of all, they're completely wrong.
Right.
The fact is, it's rare to find someone who has extraordinary creative talent who isn't one of these so-called conditions, who isn't neurodivergent. The very act of genius of creativity itself is neurodivergent. You're diverging from the typical way of thinking.
Absolutely.
So almost by definition, if you're not neurodivergent, you're not going to come up with cool and interesting stuff. And the price you pay for having such a wild imagination is you can also tune into the suffering and the pain, and you make the mistakes, and all that kind of stuff. But we neurodivergent folks, you and me, Katie, and millions of others like us, we're the benefactors of the world. We're the inventors, the discoverers, the pioneers, and I hope you people listening to Katie's story. I mean, here she loses the most important person in her world, and she picks right up and keeps going, and is so, resilient and able to make things happen. I mean, it's just inspiring to hear you and talk to you, and I'm so impressed with you.
Thank you so much.
Did I define those conditions okay?
Perfectly, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, good. Well, would you like to add anything before we bid you goodbye?
Yeah, if you didn't recognize those terms, definitely look more into it, learn more about ableism and the intricacies of that, because the more I learn about that, the more I learn how much of it people don't know is actually ableism. Like
Now,
looking
define ableism.
that's also a tough one, but ableism, in its most general sense, is kind of like a phobia or a hatred against neurodivergence.
Right.
But ableism can be something as small as condescending someone who has a diagnosis, looking down on them, making
Right.
fun of them. Yeah, learn more about all of this. It's life changing.
It sure is.
Yeah.
And look, and you're such a great example.
Thank you.
Can't thank you enough, Katie.
You too. Yep.
Okay, well, that's our show for today. If you'd like to learn more about Landmark College, where Katie is about to graduate from in a few weeks, go to lcdistraction.org. And please reach out to us with your questions and comments. We depend upon them. Write an email or record a voice memo and send it to connect@distractionpodcast.com. If you'd like to comment on Katie's story and have us do a follow-up with her, by all means, let us know. And we just would love to hear from you. Distraction is created by Sounds Great Media. This podcast was recorded and produced by Sarah Guertin and hosted by me, Dr. Ned Hallowell. Thanks so much for listening. The episode you just heard was sponsored by Omega Bright Wellness, creators of the #1 omega-3 supplement for the past 20 years. Omega Bright supplements are safe, third-party tested, and I take them every day. Shop online at omegabrightwellness.com.